Hi guys, this is Brantley, and today I'm going to present you the basics for our Art and Design class SLS 470. So, for Art and Design, we have our basic terms here. We have the medium, the material of the artwork, the subject, which is what is the artwork about. Is the subject representational, which is real world subjects, things that we can see in the real world? An abstract subject, which is a simplified or rearranged subject, or a non-objective subject, a subject that is not recognizable as something we see in the real world. Okay, artworks are made of elements of art. The elements of art are the basic building blocks of art. And we have line. We have three types of line. We have descriptive lines. Descriptive lines describe objects. The outline describes the outer edge of an object. Contour lines describe the inner shapes or the contours of objects. Hatching and cross-hatching are used to describe value or shadows. And scribbles are also used to describe shadows, and they can be used for other things as well. And those are our basic descriptive lines. Implied lines are lines that are not exclusively drawn, but imply line. Edges are lines that we see in the real world. So edges are lines that we see between two colors or two values. We have two basic types of edges. We have hard edges and soft edges. You see examples here. Now, closure is what creates implied line. Here we see examples of closure. Closure happens in your brain. Closure is when our brain closes a shape. So on the left here you see a triangle. This is because closure is happening in our brain. Our brain is closing the shape. It is creating a triangle. There are not actually lines here. And on the right we see a panda bear. Our brain is closing the shape. So closure is not a line, but closure is what creates implied line. Another type of implied line is the line of sight. That is very important in artwork. Our eye will follow the line of sight. Expressive lines express feelings. So this type of expressive line, this scribble, is different from this very controlled contour line that is thick on one end and thin on the other end. So that is my basic types of lines. Those are descriptive lines, implied lines, and expressive lines. For shape, shape is two-dimensional and form is three-dimensional. So here we see both of these are actually two-dimensional. So this is just a photo representation of what form is, but form is actually three-dimensional. So ground is background. It appears to be behind the figure. Figure is something, background is nothing. And we can, in art, this is an illusion. Art is a flat two-dimensional surface. We are creating the illusion of three-dimensional space. And we can play with the ideas of figure and ground, as we see here in this Batman poster. Positive shape. When we draw positive shape, we are drawing the figure. When we draw negative shape, we are drawing the ground. So in this, you see the first picture is the positive shape of the chair. In the second picture, we have the negative shape of the empty space inside the chair. And in the third picture, we have the outline of the chair. Open versus closed shape. If you think of open shape as an open hand, like on the left, this is space can come in between the fingers. The closed shape on the right, space cannot enter into this shape. So open shape, space can enter in. closed shape, space cannot enter in. Geometric shape. Geometric shapes are very regular. They seem to be very man-made. Organic shapes are more irregular. They seem to be very natural. So this is the difference between geometric shape and organic shape. Shape constancy. Now, 2D art is the illusion, it is the translation of 3D space onto 2D flat surfaces. In real life, the shape of a door does not change, but when we draw a door onto paper, we have to change the shape. But in our brain, the shape is constant, just as the shape is in real world. So this is called shape constancy. Size constancy is the same thing but with size. When I look at this picture, my brain tells me that the men furthest away in the red shirts are the same size as the man that's closest to us in the black shirt. But on the paper, in the picture, they are definitely not the same size. But my brain is translating this flat two-dimensional image into three-dimensional space, right? And so my brain is saying these men are the same size. One man is just much further away. So this is part of what happens in my brain in this image when we create the illusion of space in two-dimensional art. All right, let's move from shape to color and value. For color and value, we're going to look at the color wheel. So color and value are two properties of what we see when we look at visual light. For the color wheel is a way of arranging the visual spectrum of color. The spectrum is the rainbow of color that we can see. Primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors are green, orange, and purple. And tertiary or intermediate colors are the colors that are in between those colors. And we label those colors using the labels in between. So I can say red, orange, or I can say blue, green. Now, these are color schemes. So color schemes tell us about a group of colors, and we can use these groups of colors for projects, or we can use these groups of colors to put together to create art. We have warm colors, which are colors from violet, red, violet to yellow. We have cool colors, which are my greens, blues, and purples. Warm colors are like fire. Cool colors are like water or grass. Complementary colors are opposite colors on the color wheel. The other color schemes, I'm not going to go into detail here. We have split complementary, triad colors, and tetradic colors. These are other color schemes. Analogous colors are colors that are beside each other on the color wheel. Monochromatic colors means that we have one color but different values of the same color. And the last, we have hues, tints, tones, and shades of one color. Value. So on the left you see hue, which is color, and on the right you see the values of these hues. Value is black and white. Hue is color. Technically, in art, black and white are not considered colors, but they are considered values. Value has to do with light. With light, we talk about dark and light. And with color, with hue, we talk about bright and dull. For the value scale, We have from white to black, and in between we have shades of gray. Intensity, we have a pure color, a pure hue. We can add white to a hue to get a tint. A tone is a hue plus white and black, and a shade is a hue plus black. And these are the different colors, the different varieties of a hue plus a value. All right, next we're going to talk about space. For space, space is three-dimensional, and we are creating the illusion of space when we create art. The picture plane is the flat surface of a painting, and we can create the illusion of space on this flat surface using high-low placement and overlapping. The higher we place something on the picture plane, the further away it appears. So the higher something is, the further away it appears. The lower we place something, the closer it appears. Overlapping is the red hand here appears to be on top of the other hands. The blue hand appears to be on top of the yellow hand. The yellow hand appears to be on top of the green hand. This is an illusion, so we are overlapping. Linear perspective. Linear perspective is another way to create space, the illusion of space, in two-dimensional art. We are using lines that recede, that meet at a vanishing point on the horizon line. And you can see an example here. The horizon line is the line at the back. The perspective lines meet at a point, the vanishing point. We have 2-point perspective here. 1 point here. Aerial perspective uses a smoky quality. Things at the beginning, at the front, are very clear. They're very sharp, very detailed. They have lower value. Things in the back are smokier. They are like cloudy. So this is creating depth using aerial perspective. And finally, framing is how we move the picture plane. So this is one framing of the picture, and this is another framing of the picture. So framing is how we choose to move the frame of the picture. All right, finally, for our elements of art, we have texture. And for texture, actual texture is 3D texture in the real world, what you can feel. So this is a picture of actual texture. Actual texture is how would these rocks really feel in real life if you actually touch these rocks. So this is a picture. So the picture is going to feel flat, but the rocks would feel very rough, right? Simulated texture is when we create the illusion of these rocks using drawing. We simulate what the texture is. Invented texture is when we invent a texture that is not really there. In this painting, Van Gogh is creating a texture in the sky that is not actually there. So he is creating an invented texture in the sky. And so these are the 3 types of texture. We have simulated, we have actual, and we have invented. Okay, that brings us to the principles of design. The principles of design are how we use elements of art and put them together in artworks. Unity has to do with sameness, right? So unity has to do with grouping things together, sameness. In this picture, we have 3 types of unity. We have proximity, similarity, and continuation. We can create unity or unify an artwork by proximity. Proximity means placing things close together, overlapping, creating putting things close together. We can create here you see we've grouped things together. We've got groups of blue, groups of yellow, groups of red, and groups of dark, almost black. So we are creating proximity by grouping things together. We have grouped them together in these square boxes. Similarity, we have similarity of shape. We have the same shape. We have the small blueberries, the cherries, the yellow cherries, the red cherries, and the black cherries. We also have similarity of these green boxes. With continuation, the lines of the boxes continue. Our eye can follow along the lines of these boxes all the way across the picture, up and down. If you look close, you can see these lines going all the way across, all the way down. This is continuation. Variety is the opposite. So unity is about how things are connected. Variety is about how things are different. Here we have variety of shape and variety of color. We have different colors, green, red, dark purple, and we have variety of shape. We have small circles, large circles, and for a little variety we have the stems in here. Emphasis. We create emphasis by placement, contrast, details, and grouping. So in this photo, this is our focal point, the green tip of this pencil. For placement, we have placed it in the center of the picture, and we have placed it slightly above this line of the other pencils. For contrast, we have contrasted this pencil by placing it above the others. We have contrast of details, which is the next group. We have a contrast by creating a darker edge and a brighter point here in the center. We have a contrast of light, contrast of value. With details, this is more detailed in focus. It's sharper. This is more fuzzy, unclear. And with grouping, we have grouped all of these pencils together in a line, and we have this one grouped together with the other pencils. So this is how we have created emphasis on this pencil to be our focal point. With rhythm, we have three types of rhythm. The first is repeating. Here we are repeating a white star across from left to right. We're repeating a black star across left to right. So we're repeating the same thing. If we look this way, we're alternating white, black, white, black, white, black. And if we look here, we are progressing. So we have 3, 4, 5. We can progress in number. We can progress in shape. We're progressing from the bottom, big, smaller, smaller, smaller. So we're progressing in shape from biggest to smallest. We can progress in color from the colors of the rainbow. So progression can be changing from one thing to another thing. So progressing is changing slowly. Movement. With movement, we have actual movement versus implied movement. Actual movement is when art actually moves. So I can't show you here, but with actual movement, we have art that moves. You can go to a gallery and see art that is moving. Or we have implied movement. This second car here has lines. These are called movement lines. They are giving the implied idea that this car is moving. It's not really moving, but we read these lines as an illusion of movement. With sequence, we are following this sequence of movement from this guy to this guy to this guy, all the way through. So this is a sequence. This is creating an illusion of movement from one image to the next. Optical movement is a special type of movement. This artwork is not actually moving, but because of the arrangement of colors here, my eye is perceiving movement, and this is called optical movement. Because the biology of my eye, I perceive movement here. This type of art is a special type of art that takes advantage of the way your eye works, and it's called optical movement. With balance, we have three types of balance. We have symmetric, asymmetric, and radial. Also symmetrical, asymmetrical, and radial. If you look at balance and we draw a line down the middle of the artwork, if both sides are almost the same, or if both sides are the same, then we call this symmetrical. If both sides are different, we call it asymmetrical. And if we can draw a line at different points, we call it radial, if it's like a circle. We can also have one where both sides are almost the same, which is called approximately symmetrical. So this work is symmetrical, this work is asymmetrical, and this work is radial. With a pattern has a part that repeats over and over again. So this is a pattern, and this is a motif. The motif is the part that repeats over and over again. We can also have cultural motifs. A cultural motif is a image that repeats over and over again in a culture. So this is a Korean cultural motif. This is a Western Christian cultural motif, and this is a Chinese cultural motif. All right. We can use these elements of art and principles of design for our art criticism. And for art criticism, we have 4 steps. So when we look at an artwork, a painting, a sculpture, we can talk about art by looking at these 4 steps. We will divide into these 4 steps of description, analysis, interpretation, and evaluation. With description, we want to tell what is the medium, the artist, the style, and the date of the art. We want to tell the facts. So what do you see in the artwork? What is the subject? We can talk about what elements of art we see. What are the primary elements of art? The important thing to remember for all of these steps of art criticism is we want to talk about what is important. Do not talk about things just to talk about things. We only want to mention the things that are very important. If something is obvious that is not necessarily important, we don't need to mention it. The next thing is analysis. What are the relationships between the elements of art? So we want to talk about the principles of design. How is the picture organized? We want to give clear examples to support our ideas from the artwork. So with analysis, we're looking at mostly the principles of design and how the elements of art are used to organize the artwork. For interpretation, we're looking at meaning and feeling. What does the artwork mean? What does the artist try to say with the artwork? So what is the meaning of the artwork? What symbolism is used? How are elements of art used to show feeling? How are principles of design used to show feeling? And what is the artist's purpose? And finally, for evaluation, evaluation is not just our personal feeling of the artwork. Our personal feeling is important, but very often for academic work, our personal feeling must take a back seat to the greater success of the artwork. So is the artwork successful in a historical sense? Is the artwork historically important? Why is the artwork important? So what is the greater significance of the artwork? And so finally, that is our view of art criticism. That is how we're going to work with art criticism this term, and we're going to be looking at paintings such as this. This is Salvador Dali's Dream, caused by the flight of a bee around a pomegranate a second before awakening. It is an oil on wood from 1944. This is a great painting to describe, analyze, interpret, and evaluate, and we will be looking at this painting in class at some point this term. I hope you guys got something out of this presentation, and I will be seeing you in class soon. Thank you very much.